Okay, thanks, Joe, for coming in this afternoon to be able to do a recap session with me. The intent is to be able to kind of like crystallize what has happened last night. I think that the feedback from the team was saying that you and I have done an incredible job. And then something happened just now. Alfred has to come in. We have to mobilize the new tech guru in mind transformation to solve the problem. He has outranked you, Joe.
Yeah, happy to be outranked.
Okay, so right on the screen right now, can you see the slide?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. So this is what happened last night. Everybody, if you are tuning in right now, good afternoon. On the screen right now is Joe. He is the chief kind of like program designer, and the program deliverer will be Diane Lauter, which I will introduce later. This session is about doing a quick recap of what has happened last night. It's not the full 9 yards of it. It's only a snapshot of what happened last night. Yeah. So we might do a re-screening or something like that. We haven't planned it yet, but let's see if anyone wants to actually get the full 2 hour session of it. Yeah. Okay. And let's go to the next slide right now. Right, that is Diane Lauter. Diane is a friend of mine for almost 24 years. We grew old together. Okay, and she was involved with me in terms of setting up the first master practitioners training back in 1998. And then she's been in touch with me throughout all this time. And now she has become one of the most sought after lab profile trainer in the world. Yeah, and then she's coming back to us to do what we call a lab profile virtual training. And this is going to be the first in Southeast Asia, and definitely the first in Singapore. So essentially, so that's the backstory. Yeah. So let me talk about the lab profile. The lab, LAB, stands for language and behavior profile. Language and behavior profile. And historically, right, it is a kind of adapted or inspired by MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is planet Earth most recognized so-called person profiler. It's been used in many settings, and it is actually built on the works of Carl Jung. Myers-Briggs, based on some of the scrap notes of Carl Jung. He couldn't complete his work, and then Myers-Briggs kind of took up the mantle and followed the work. Okay, and then Leslie Cameron, which is the wife of Richard Bandler, the developer of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, started to look at it and then turning what we call that MBTI observations, right, into what we call in NLP, what we call meta programs. The good thing about it is that from an NLP perspective, right, for every thought pattern that we have, right, there will be a corresponding verbal and non-verbal expression of that. So if that's our principle, then we're looking for the way people speak, the way people even their non-verbal will give us a clue about their thinking preference, their how they sort information, how they relate with people, and so on and so forth. So we call that meta programs, whereby there are certain filtering or mechanisms or thought patterns in us that can be actually identified through our verbal and non-verbal behaviors. So that was done about 40 years ago. And Roger Bailey is a NLP, one of the early NLP practitioners and trainer. She turned it into what we call a business application, which is today known as the language and behavior profile. And then Shelley Rose refined, she's a Canadian French, refined it for the last 40 years up to what it is today. So this is the kind of like the historical development of this process. Yeah, we didn't just pluck it out of thin air. You know what I'm saying? It's based on very sound psychological disciplines. So Joe, that was a 2-hour foray yesterday. So this is totally unplanned. We didn't script the whole thing out actually. So based on your facilitation yesterday, what are some of the key values of this program for you?
Right. The lab profile is actually the deeper dive of the meta programs. Yeah, and a lot of time when we learn these meta programs, it's very important that we're able to connect it with the applications. How are we going to use it on a day-to-day basis? And a large part of yesterday's session, it was based on hiring and development. Now, to give you a little bit of a look ahead into what how the lab profile works, right, is actually a profiling tool that through an expert interviewer, let's say I am the expert interviewer, and as I'm speaking with Barney or I'm speaking with someone, the patterns of their language is being picked up by me. And through that, I begin to see what are these subconscious patterns that's going on within them. Yeah, and these subconscious patterns, basically a way of explaining is like a filter. All of us have got a certain filters that's running inside us, and it's very subconscious. So Barney and I could go and see a movie, and two of us can count on that movie and comment different things about that movie, because how the same movie passes through our filters and being received by us is very different. Yeah, and because of that, it creates a lot of differences in people. Right. So now today, if you are trained in the lab profile and you are able to pick up all these language patterns and subtleties and language and behavioral patterns, you are able to see a lot more quality information in how people prefer to communicate, how they make decisions, how they get motivated, how they become productive. If you are a HR practitioner, you are a hiring manager, you are a recruiter, you are able to suss out this quality information from people. Yeah, and when you're doing this interview, it can integrate very seamlessly into your interview process. And with these patterns, right, you can actually also use it to decide, you know, this role that I want to hire, what kind of patterns will make this person more successful being in this role, right? And with those criteria, you're able to select the best candidate out of the pool that you have. Even when you don't have the best candidate, knowing the candidate's pattern, you will know that if this person come on board, how are you going to develop this person? Where are the areas that they need to stretch so that they can become successful?
Yeah. So I'm just going to cut in right now. So the snapshot of what you have just said, right? I'm just being mindful of the time that we have. It's focused on the profile is focused on what we call the application, which is on hiring and development, right? So yeah. hiring is explanatory, recruitment, and development can be in the form of personal performance or coaching and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay. Performance appraisal, feedback.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the focus here, I want to emphasize on this point. The difference between the MBTI and the lab profile is that MBTI requires you to take a test.
Yeah.
It requires you to take a test, a paper and pen instrument.
Yeah.
Right? This is, we're talking about training people who's able to use this framework with specific patterns by identifying a person's behavioral, and that means
language
and non-verbal expression. The way they non-verbally express and the way they express linguistically, right? We can pick up some of their thought patterns. For example, are they a person that is more inward focus or outward focus, for example? Are they generally more of a big picture person, then they go down to details, or they are a detail person before they go to a big picture? Something like that, simple ones right now. So that's what you're saying. It can be used to be able to then essentially, right, understand the thought patterns of the other person, and then we can then use that for various settings.
Yeah. And the other thing to add on is that because it's done through an expert interview profiling, there's no profiling fee when you are certified to use this. Pen and paper instruments or even online questionnaires, usually they will cost you money to profile people, and the more you use it, the more cost, right? This you can integrate it seamlessly into your interview process. It has no cost. That means you do both interviewing and profiling at the same time.
Okay. Once trained,
Yeah.
okay, so all right, so that point is actually made clear. So that's I'm glad that you talk about it because you're giving the audience right now a context to understand what the language and behavior profile is used for.
Yeah.
And how is it being used?
Mm.
Okay, so based on what you have gone through yesterday, what are some of its unique values?
Right. So there's one area that is very valuable is the language of influence. Okay, the language of influence is that once we learn what are the patterns in ourselves and others, right? Number one, you want to be able to speak to or with these patterns. We want to be able to match these patterns, right? And that is actually going with the grain of people rather than going against their grain. Yeah. On the other hand, in the same manner, once you know the pattern for yourself or others, you realize that there are some areas where it's actually a limitation for us. And we want to be able to develop the opposite or a different pattern within us to be able to succeed in a certain role that we are going for. Yeah. So these are things that are actually very useful. Yeah. And another part about this training is that during the training of the lab profile, you'll be trained how to give feedback. Yeah. And the feedback is actually, again, speaking to the patterns. So you learn how to do the feedback in a very elegant manner. And last night, how Diane wowed everyone was like, when she did the feedback, it was so smooth, it was so accurate that within just a 5-minute conversation with someone, right, she could tell whether the person is someone who could take charge of a team, or the person required to work with people in order to, succeed in the role, or the person is a more collaborative person. And we had a mock-up interview where we select two candidates and Diane profile them on the fly and decide who was the one that she would select for the role. Yeah, and all the debrief were accurately done, and people were very wowed by just a 5-minute interview. Can come out with so much information. Yeah. On the other hand, those people who are coaches or consultants, they were very wowed by the way Diane gives the feedback. It's very smooth, it's very elegant, and people want those feedback. All those are part of the lab profile training.
Okay. So based on what you said, is this language of influence, that means is essentially another way of saying it is that by using the lab profile, I'm able to a process of observation and asking questions, find out what are their thought patterns, and then if I know that their thought pattern, for example, if they are a person that's motivated by what we call by consequences, or is a person motivated by rewards, for example. Right?
Carrots or sticks, yeah.
Yeah, carrot or stick, right?
Yeah,
then I can target my question differently. For example, in the sales setting, for example, in the hiring or offering a person a job in that sense. That's only just one. We're talking about 14 different ones, right?
Yeah.
So,
and what you missed last night, right, Barney, was after the person was selected, right, Diane sold the person the role. You have to sell the role to the person, right? Even you want to hire the person today, people have choices. People will go for higher pay somewhere else, right? She sell the role to the person, and the person said yes because it matched all the internal criteria that get her motivated for the role.
So in other words, is that if you can literally speak that person's language, the language of their mind, right? It's so much easier for the person to say yes. That doesn't mean that you are programming the person, you're hypnotizing the person. No. It just simply means that there is a lot easier for the person to be able to understand where you're coming from, how is it going to be used by them or preferred by them, or is it suits them in that sense.
It's like you are giving the same answer, but the answer is said in a way that people best like to receive it. It's still the same answer, but you're able to speak to their pattern.
Okay, good. So that's one of the so-called key values. Is there anything else that you felt that was a unique value of this program itself, or what was being highlighted yesterday?
Right. So there was another segment that was also very interesting, was that someone wanted to get her boss to sponsor her for this program. And of course, the value that she saw in the program, when Diane had a conversation with her, she realized that the value that the boss would see is very different. So Diane was pretty much profiling her boss through talking to her and then teaching her how to communicate with her boss so that her boss will see the value of this program. But the way she were to communicate with the boss, it will need to be very much different from the way she would have said it by herself, right? So behavioral flexibility, language flexibility is actually a large part of this training.
Right, right.
Behavioral and flexibility, language flexibility as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Behavioral flexibility. This is something that we fully recognize. There are a lot of times people can actually talk a grand big deal, but they are not able to translate to a change in their behavior.
Yeah.
And this is a very long topic by itself, but it simply means that, you know, unless you are able to give your mind the right instruction and you're able to do some form of rehearsal, connecting your mind, your heart, and your body, right? Then what you know may not necessarily translate into a change in the way you express yourself. So that's going to be something that we're going to emphasize on.
Yeah,
so,
and just one more point, right, Barney? I mean, I think we all know that nowadays, right, there's a lot of virtual work and all that. Yeah. So people have been asking us, you know, how do we enhance virtual work now that, you know, we sometimes don't even see people on camera, we can't see them, we just have to have a long drawn conversation, buying in people and all that. This is where the lab profile you will excel, because you by understanding people's patterns and you can listen to that through a language, even if you can't see them, their pattern will still be given away to you. In fact, those information comes to us every single moment, and you learn to communicate with them very differently. Yeah, so I personally I use it every single day in every single one of our meeting. I know you use it, all our team members use it. So it's actually a way of a way of communication right now. Yeah.
That's an important point you just made. I'm glad we captured that one down.
I'm trying my best to recall all the things we talked about last night. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is completely unscripted. Yeah. Okay. So, next one. So this is the language and behavior profile, the signs of reading between the lines. Yeah, just go to some slides. Yeah. Yeah. These are the things that you can be using it for.
Right. Maybe let's just talk a little bit about this slide, because this slide is actually about the applications of the lab profile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our community and also in Diane's training, for a lot of people who have gone through training with Diane, a lot of them are actually in HR. Yeah, but it's not limited to HR. So a lot of them use this lab profile for talent screening. Oh yeah, I forgot one thing that was very interesting last night. So last night, Diane showed us 2 job roles. They were actually the same role, but one job ad was written just per normal, something you go to LinkedIn, you go to a job portal, and you'll find those kind of description, very technical, all those things, you have a team player and so on. And then she showed us a different one that was written using the lab profile patterns. And we asked everyone to apply for those roles. And of course, as you can guess, without telling people which one was lab profile, the one written with the lab profile got more people applying for it, even though it was the same role. Yeah. So the language of influence works inside writing as well, email, whatever it works. Yeah. Then the profiling assessment we talk about, and team fit and culture fit is a big piece. The lab profile is not just used for personal basis, like me talking to Barney or to the other person. It can be used to look at the whole team, or you could have the profile everyone in the team, and then you know what's the culture within that group that needs to be worked on. Yeah. So these are things that can be applied. And of course, coaching, mentoring, productivity, how to motivate people, especially now remote work, you don't know what people are doing on the other end, you can't see them. How do you motivate them? You have to know their patterns, what gets them motivated.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a spread, kind of like a whole spread of what the lab profile can be used for. Yeah. Okay. So,
and more.
and more. The problem is today is this idea about more, and then so much more. People get kind of like somewhat distracted and fragmented. So if you can wrap your mind around this 6 things: talent screening, coaching, profiling assessment for all kind of purposes, as a way to be able to mentor your mentee, predicting some kind of team fit or culture fit, and influencing buy-in. I think a large part of our life today, regardless of whatever role that you are in, involves getting buy-in from people. And I think psychology was invented because we are trying to be able to get buy-in from people, not just in modern society, but since time began when human is around, we're trying to influence people to get a certain form of buy-in.
Yeah.
We can point a gun at someone or say you'll be fired or throw them a lot of money, or we understand the psychology behind it and be able to speak in the language that actually triggers them to be able to want to do something. Yeah? So it's a tall order. It doesn't mean that we are able to successfully do this. There are many other ways to do it, but we have created a system to be able to make this work in a sense, achieve this ends. Yeah? So let's have a short conversation about why is this important now, in your perspective, from the talk last night. Why is it important? Why is it so emphasized? Why is the lab an important consideration for people today? Primarily, we are talking about essentially, right? Our target audience we're talking about are people who are in HR, and also people who are in what we call in sales or sales management. Yeah? Okay, so what is your what is your 2 cents worth of articulation on why is it important now?
The first thing is virtual work. For a lot of people, is very challenging right now, especially that you can't see each other. So if you don't know how to work with people's innate patterns, there will be a lot of tension. Yeah. So for example, some people might just want to get all the details they need. But when they send you an email and you being you, let's say you are a big picture person, you did not give them the right level of detail, they will be hounding you and you find that how come this is going on and on, right? So that's just one example. On the hiring scene, there are a few things that I've spoken to a lot of HR practitioners, also NLP practitioners, and they shared a number of insights with me. On the hiring scene, one thing is that there's a lot of retrenchment going on. So there is a very large job pool. And on the other hand, there's another group of people or certain industry that are hiring, right? So there's a lot of screening to be done. So the lab profile can be used in screening candidates. It can be used over a phone call, very quick screening to know whether the person is the right fit for you. Yeah. So those will save you a lot of time, and you can save on profiling fees to find talent. Yeah, you can, because you're gonna have to interview the person anyway. You can might as well build into it. Yeah. On the other hand, there's also this part of selling the role to people or enticing people to join you. Yeah. So I have one example, one lab profile practitioner who is a head of HR. And she had this one candidate where the person was being offered 11,000 by the competitor, while her company's budget is only 8,500. Yeah, and so her company 8,500, 11,000. That's like 30% difference in pay, right? But using the lab profile, she's able to understand what are the conditions that the person want for his role. And she's able to present this condition to the person. And guess what happened? He took up the role with her. And that is like 30% of pay that he's foregoing just to join her, right? But guess what happens after 1 week? 1 month. 1 month later, when the person was in that role, right? The person was bombarded left, right, and center by the management for a lot of things. The person was under a lot of stress. And the competitor again counter offer, right? And the person was contemplating to leave, right? Again, knowing his patterns, right? And all the patterns and things that he needed, right? She was able to, within the company, they're able to have a conversation with him and understand what are the things that he will want. And then through that, he decided to stay. Yeah. So that is number one, securing the person, yeah, without competing for money, salary, higher salary, number one, and retaining the person again, even the person was tempted by higher salary. Yeah. And this person, this HR practitioner, she also had a track record of 95% retention last year when she used a lab profile in hiring. So I just thought to share this example to you, because I think most HR will know that we can't just compete on salary and benefits to secure people, right? And And a lot of time is about how people can come into the company and they feel they belong with the company. And that comes from knowing the patterns within the company and how the pattern of that person, how to bring them in. Yeah, so the lab profile will be a very wonderful tool for you, and you will master the language of influence, how to get these messages across to people in more elegant manner. Yeah, I can go on and on. There's a lot of things. I hope I answered to your question, Barney.
Yeah, you did. More than I anticipated. Hang on.
Yeah. I think retention. If you look at it, is job loyalty is actually very hard to come by nowadays, because of a competitive marketplace. Yeah, but if you look deeper, right, people stay in a role. A lot of time is more than the factor of money. Yeah, so that you will require you to understand their deeper motivation and what gets them to be productive, and they are more going with their grain when they're in the role with you, right? Or you are able to develop them that they can go with their grain when they're in that role, right? Then you will have a retention.
Yeah, and just to add on this, I'm very sensitive to your time right now. Okay, so I'm trying to give the bird's eye view of this. Back in 2015, I'm talking about Mind Transformation, our own company right now. Back in 2015, we went through a very difficult time. Two of our staff, or two of our employees, two of our associates have left, and then we are down to skeletal staff. And long story short, right, the organization were actually in some way, our way of presenting ourselves, the way we think about our own business and the way we think what's important to us, right, is actually out of sync with what the market wants in terms of market trend. You can say that there is certain social values that we were not complying to, or we are not able to match. So through a system of analysis, trying to understand where is the gap between us, Mind Transformation, and what the economy wants, the society wants, right? We map out the difference, and then it boils down to this. Using the meta programs as a way people say right now, what are the things that we need to start changing in terms of how we match rather than mismatch what society wants. For example, changing our communication, turning our emphasis on being able to speak about the things that we are wanting to be able to deliver in the future, rather than attacking things that we disagree with the current the way society works. Yeah. So instead of just looking at the problems about society, but looking at how society can move forward. So that's one of the meta programs that we talk about, moving towards, and rather than just going away from something, for example. Being able to be more external reference about what the market wants, and we are able to provide and substantiate that. Yeah. And then there are quite a number of things, but the next one that I want to talk about is this idea about creating a clearer structure and process, so that people, when they come in, they can see the path they can take, and there's a certain procedure or step that they can take with us, rather than having a lot of choices for people to go in many different ways. We are more free and easy, rather than actually looking into step by step of how people can actually continue or start their education with us. Yeah. And that alone, plus changing our website and the team that we want to be able to match according to what is important to the society in the culture that we operate in, right? I can safely say it has actually generated or steered the company into a completely different direction. And we are still here now, and we have gone to like four or five different countries right now. This one switch of this, what we call the lab, or also known as meta programs, has actually helped us secure millions of dollars. We're talking at range of like $5 to $8 million just by that switching alone. So I'm just talking about using the lab or the meta programs in terms of mapping out what's your organizational patterns. Organizational pattern. You have team patterns. You have organizational patterns. And then being able to see how to make yourself relevant to the business environment that you operate in. So that is one biggest application of that, in terms of that's very personal to us. And you were there. you were there during that period of time. You know exactly what we went through.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
This is one of another Zoom for another day.
Yeah. So that was the thing that kind of pivot the way around. And so we are pivoting right now as well with the what we call the onset of the pandemic and everything. So we are actually going virtual online. We are revamping. We are now revamping our programs and so on and so forth. We're opening up new channels of so on and so forth. But if you think about it, right, it's being aware of the meta program that the organization have and begin to challenge it and say, right now, how do we make ourselves more relevant?
Yeah. So just I mean, you can more the next slide, but just to build on one point on that, what Diane shared with us last night is that the meta program is contextual. So the lab profile is not a personality profile that it talks about your personality.
Yeah.
It actually talks about how you show up from context to context and is highly malleable. But the problem with most of us is we are not aware of it. Hence, we become more rigid to certain pattern. But now learning this, right, we can say, where are areas that we can map across some of our strengths and we can, cross and vice versa. Learn that through the language of influence.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So this is a slide that was used yesterday. And so I think it's very, very, very apt in what we have talked so far. I thought I was the first one to come up with a quote, right? It's not the thing that people say that matters. It's the thing that people are not saying that truly matters. And so I'm glad that this is very, very nicely explained here with the fact that a lot of times in communication, it's not just verbal, but it's also the nonverbal communication. And a large part of this lab profile training is talking about that, being able to not just analyze the language, but you're also tuning in to the what we call the nonverbal expression as well. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move on right now. These are the dates that are available for this upcoming training. Yeah. The session 1 and 2, session 3 and 4.
Yep. It's in July. I think I forgot to put the dates on this, but the session 1 and 2 is 24th and 25th of July. Basically, the training is largely weekend based. Yeah, 24th and 25th of July. And then session 3 and 4 is 28th of July and 31st of July. And then we'll get the next set of dates later. Okay, this one is 6, 7, and 8 of August.
Okay.
It's a fully virtual program.
Yes, and how long for each session? Each
day is if I remember correctly, it's 1 to 7 p.m. or 1 to 6 p.m. Yeah. It's not just sitting down on virtual and downloading information to you. It's a lot of hands-on. Yeah. First of all, Barney, could you scroll back to the last slide? I just run through those details very quickly. Yeah. So first you start learning the 14 lab profile patterns on motivation and productivity, and you learn to recognize the nuances in the language and the behavior. Yeah. And then after learning that, you begin to learn how to decode what's the difference, and there'll be a lot of back and forth. We will supervise you in that process, right? Session 3 and 4 is practical. You start to apply it, you start to ask questions and then see the patterns and see if you got it right. Yeah, it's a lot of practice. And then
there'll be supervised practice and competency.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's right. And then 5, 6, and 7 is applications. Yeah. So these applications is a very unique process that we have built where there will be a large scale hiring game that we're going to play. Yeah. There's still Diane and I are very excited about this game because it's very real life. It's something that you could, for HR, you could take and start integrating into your hiring and development. And there will be pressure where you will pressure to use your skill, you use your lab profile to win that game. Yeah, and we're gonna do that very interactive. We'll learn, and we're gonna bring in facilitators to support us and all that. So this is something that I'm really looking forward to. Yeah. So it's group-based learning.
Yeah. So I just want to highlight also the fact that this is not the game itself is not just a skill towards hiring per se. I'm speaking for those people who think strictly in a linear form, apple to apple, for example. No, this exercise can also be used to be able to give you a chance to speak in a way that will target the audience that you want to speak to.
Yeah.
You can also use this exercise to be able to take what you know and turn it into an turn it into a change in your behavior in this particular context. So
Yeah.
if you can succeed here, you can succeed in many other conversations. So it's not just about hiring, it's how you show up with what you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's how you show up with what you know. Knowing and doing requires practice. Knowing does not just automatically mean that you are going to be competent. Yeah. The only way you can get from knowing to competency is through practice. And so this program has got, besides this hiring, there are many other coaching, performance, conversation, one-to-one meeting.
You have to sell the role to people and things
sell
like
the
that.
role or sell an idea across. So it can come in many other settings. But obviously, in our training, we can't cover every different setting because people can generalize. You know how to do one thing, presentation. You can present, you can use your presentation skill in many different settings, not only in just one setting.
Yeah.
I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah. So to Diane and myself and a lot of us, right, the lab, right, is just like NLP. It's a practice. It's not just a tool that you use. Like, it's a practice that you use every single day with people in every single interaction. There's lab profile coming to you every single moment. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I think we are wrapping up right now. So in your own words, right, to the audience who's tuning in right now at this hour, it's going to be interesting. I think there'll be more people tuning in at night.
I don't know. We can ask Alfred. Yeah.
Anyway, but right now, the audience who are tuning, who are observing this right now, what would you say to them for the reason for them to choose us or choose Mind Transformations?
Number one, it's not just about coming to a training to us. Yeah, we really care about your development. So as I shared last night, right, I want people to reach out to us and say how I'm hoping to use a lab profile. We will help you tailor it or look into how you apply it into your day-to-day applications. Let's say you have a challenge your boss, you want to be to do you for coaching, you're finding a more career, about hiring, all those things. The lab profile is applicable to you, and we will talk to you about it, how to use it. Yeah, so that part is I find is really important, and many graduates have found a lot of value there because you're not just coming for training and bye bye, we forget about you. No, there is actually a continuous conversation ongoing with us. Yeah, I'll let you finish typing. Yeah, so building on to that, there's also a community of avid practitioners and coaches who will continue that practice. So I think today anyone can go on YouTube and go and find, and they can learn anything online, right? You can, as you said, you can get the knowledge, right? Yeah, but one of the fastest way to learn is to learn in a group and apply together in a group and get feedback with each other. Yeah, so that's also a very big hallmark of Mind Transformations work. Yeah, the community. Yeah. Yep. The next point is that we specialize in brain compatible teaching and also methodology development. Brain compatibility and methodology. So the lab profile is taught with brain compatible strategies, is taught with activities, is taught in a way that helps you to not just learn and have the knowledge, is to give you a skill. Yeah. When we learn something, we want to have a skill. Otherwise, you forget about it. You can talk big about lab, right? But you need that skill to be able to get results. Yeah. So that's something that we specialize in. And we design exercises that help people make the most of the learning. Yeah, which is what we talked about the recruitment game earlier that we shared, so that people can do it live and see how they perform under pressure, and how much of the skill they already got it in them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we can go on and talk for a lot more. A lot of things that we do.
I think if just one mini point I would say is that the lab integrates, as with all our other methodology, it integrates all the other things that we have taught. If you are NLE trained, it integrates well with NLE. If you are NLP trained, it integrates well with NLP. They are all interrelated, and they give you more depth into what you're able to do. For example, let's say you are an NLE practitioner, right? I can tell you that I use the lab profile, language of influence, and debrief method when I do an NLE debrief, and it's very much different. Yeah. If you're an NLP practitioner, then the lab profile gives you a more elegant way to coach, to seamlessly see the patterns in people's language. Yeah. And you get a more high quality information where you can work with them. So they are all interrelated, and we have multi-intelligence in all the work that we are doing. Yeah. Yeah, I just felt like there's so much to say, but I'm trying to find the most valuable things. So yeah, maybe you can help me out here. PQ. Yeah. Yeah, PQ, physical intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think our time is up. So
okay.
I think again, this is completely unscripted.
Yeah.
So this is from Joseph's mouth. And what he said is in total alignment with me, with everyone in Mind Transformation. Bottom line is one of our values is we strive to support life in everything that we do. We strive to support life, make life more possible, not to destroy life, but to make life more possible. And that means caring about people's development, helping them to do good in the world. And we spend time to be able to coach people in specific setting according to them, to their settings. And learning the group, we create a community for people to be able to support each other, and they learn it through experience, not just learning it through theory, or visual information. The teaching that we deliver, the way we deliver is brain compatible. That means teaching with the brain in mind. How do we teach with the brain in mind so that the brain can understand, can appreciate, and then can therefore utilize it? And everything we do is actually multiple intelligence based on how it garners work, which is there's a spiritual dimension, there's an emotional, intellectual, as well as a physical component to it. So it's not just sitting down and it's just a bunch of talking. There are things that we are doing to be able to help people feel right, be able to have the confidence to act. They know the purpose, spiritual, the purpose of why they're doing what they are doing, and they have what we call a relevant methodology or relevant knowledge to be able to do something in that sense. So that's your articulation of why choose us. And this is the way that you can get in touch with us. And my last line for this session is, you might be just one conversation away from solving the most pressing problems in your life. Now, just one conversation away. So if you think about it, many times in our lives, when we are in a very dark place or we are in a challenging situation, things started shifting when we actually have a conversation with someone, and someone who is not like you, someone who thinks differently from you, someone who knows in some way you can say someone who knows what they are doing, someone who knows how to be able to apply a particular framework to be able to get your brain to think differently, to be able to see things differently, to see possibilities that you did not know of, right? So I'm saying that this conversation can start with us right now. So one conversation, just one conversation. What's the worst that could possibly happen is that you waste a couple of minutes with us. That's all. But if you are able to get something out of the one conversation, it might be the turning point. It might be the thing that you're looking for. It might be the thing of starting a new chapter, a new story in your life. So, okay, having said that, these are the ways to get in touch with us. You can write to us through our email, or you can WhatsApp us or call us with this number, 8186 7508 65. Why do we put 65 for other countries? Okay, so it's 8186 7508. That's a nice jingle, 8186 7508. and my favorite way of getting in touch for people to get that is go to simplemindtransformations.com/NLP-starter. NLP starter. This is a place where you can put in some of your basic information, download to us what you're thinking of, why you want to talk to us, or what some of the things that you're looking for, the challenges that you're facing right now. And then we can call you up and we can have a much more meaty and relevant and productive conversation. So that's the link that I would strongly advise that you go into to start the conversation with us. Okay, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We wanted to keep it really even much shorter than this, but this is the best that we can do at this moment in time. So reach out to us and we will catch up with you soon.